experts here who are already in the market. They have market experience, and they also have the data and research and access to the community. And they actually are involved in building the solutions for the community itself. So I think that it is a very good chance. And then, so let me just give you the agenda, that today's agenda, and then how the programs will continue. First, Dr. Bill will present a presentation, a slide presentation, where he will be highlighting the main issues of the community in the West, Muslim community, and then how he is actually trying to solve them through his ideas and products. And then we have Mufti Bilal, Sharia scholar from the UK as well, who will be talking about the Sharia aspect of the different products. It's particularly for the credit card. And then also he will be highlighting also other issues facing right now the community. So right now, without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Bill to take up the stage or our webinar, and then he can share his slides screen with us, and then
Farooq,
presentation.
can you introduce about Dr. Bill also, please?
Yeah. Okay. So sorry for that. Where are my manners? So Dr. Bill is wait. Let me just get access to that, and then I will. Sorry, I completely forgot that. But just a second. Yeah. So we have Dr. Bill Dost with us, who is the group CEO of DND Finance. He got his start in the asset finance field over 25 years ago, working for Fidelity Leasing. In the year 2000 in Canada, he started what would become DND Finance to service the entrepreneurial segment of the SME field, and expanded into the UK in 2009. He has served on several boards and was appointed to the Canadian Regional Council, Global Governance Committee, and Global Membership Committee for the Entrepreneurs Organization. A past board member of the Leasing Foundation and the Canadian Finance and Lease Association, and current director for the Finance and Lease Association. Among other degrees, he holds a Doctor of Theology and an MBA in Human Resource Management. Although his profile is very fascinating, and it's a very long profile, but I will basically save it for you guys. I think that you might have already got an idea. So with that, I will invite Dr. Phil to take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, everybody, Dr. Farooq especially. So I'm going to try to share my slide deck. Currently, it tells me I have only the host can share. So perhaps maybe put mine up or make me the host. But in the meantime, we can continue. Our company is called D&D Finance, and we started that 25 years ago. And then the last couple of years, we started a new product line, which is our credit card product. And we call that Score by D&D. It's the Score MasterCard. So it is a MasterCard product, but I'll explain that later. Let me tell you a little bit about our agenda today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and the company. And I'm now co-host, so I can share this, I think. Okay. Give me 30 seconds here just to do that. Okay, start the broadcast. And if I did, no, it does not look like I can do this right. Okay, I'm hoping you can see my I
can share. I can see your slides, but it is
Perfect.
split, so I can also see your Zoom half, and half of it is yeah.
How is that?
Perfect.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Now I can see your slides.
Okay, so this is our agenda that I'm going to go through in a probably about 10-15 minutes. I'm not going to belabor it a whole lot, and I'm going to allow you to read it for yourselves as well. So I'm just going to hit play here. I think there we go. That should be better. 25 years ago, I was a young lad. I was 21 years old, and I went in to a car dealership because my car broke down. The engine had stopped working. And I went to say, okay, well, I'm young. I have a job in the leasing industry. Let me go ahead and lease a new car, something fast and something splashy. And so the lease manager was more than happy to help me pick out a vehicle. And when that happened, we went and did my credit report. And my credit report, because I was young and because I'd made some unwise decisions in my past, failed. And so I thought, oh, okay, that's a problem. What do I do about it? And so we said, okay, well, how about we get a used car? Because a used manager, we all know if you have breath in your lungs and you can fog up a mirror, that they will happily lend you money for a used car. So I went to the used car side of the lot, got something less than half the price, picked it out. They ran my credit again, and I failed again. And I thought, okay, well, now I'm embarrassed. If I can just get my car repaired, it's only $2,500 Canadian, and they can give me a loan for that, I would do it. And unfortunately, the manager came back and said to me, Mr. Dost, I'm sorry, we can't even approve you for $2,500. So you can imagine my shame and humiliation, right? I thought I was going to throw up. I was embarrassed, and I knew I only had one access left to me. I had to call somebody for help, and I had to call my father again. And I was very, very embarrassed on the phone call, I have to admit. I was sitting there going, well, of course I'll pay you back, Dad. You know I will, until the next crisis that I manufactured. And I realized that I personally had a pattern of bad decisions that needed to be changed. And I decided that day that they will change, and they would change. So I spent the next few years learning everything I could about credit and making credit not just my job, but my career. I started reading and going to seminars. Eventually, I started giving seminars. I started writing articles. I've published now, must be close to 50, 60, 100 articles. It's a lot. It's all on our website. And I even wrote a book so that other individuals that were in my situation, financially excluded, whether through bad decisions or whether through immigrating to a company or whether because nobody taught them about credit, would not have to live out the story that I lived out. And so today, when I call my father, it's to take him out to lunch, not to ask him for money. And we can both laugh about the past. Today, I can be proud of the decisions that I'm making. And today, I can be certain that when I apply for credit, I'm going to be approved. But why is credit so important? Um, and let me explain that to you. You see, in the past, it was like flying first class, having good credit. It just meant that you were in a better class of service. The credit bureaus were started originally to show people that we're lending money that XYZ person would be a good repayer. However, today, and as Dr. Farouk has also mentioned, good credit means a lot more than that. It means that can you move into the ideal neighborhood you want because your landlord or your bank will run your credit. And if you can't get into a good neighborhood, well, then what next happens is that your children can't go to a good school. You find that produce and groceries are further away from you. They're of a lesser quality in poorer neighborhoods, and they're more expensive. To be able to buy fuel or get to transport links, they're further away from you, meaning you have to transport further to get to work. And it means that quite often, and especially in the West and in North America, it means very often that you're not home for dinner with your family. So really having good credit today is having a better life. And that's really, really important. And so at D&D, we decided and we started with this idea that we wanted people to have a better life. So we launched our company back in 2000, and it was to help those that were underserved in the corporate arenas. Eventually, we would add consumer arenas to it. We opened up in Canada, and 14 years ago, we came to the United Kingdom, all with this desire to offer lending to businesses that needed help. However, what we learned was it wasn't the businesses that needed help. It was the individuals behind those businesses that needed help. And so we created something called the SCORE credit card and the SCORE MasterCard. And what that is that it gets behind just a corporate entity and gets to the consumer that needs help. And we help them rebuild their credit. But it's not enough to simply rebuild your credit. You see, your credit, great, you rebuild it. But what if you have a faith background that says, I don't want to use interest? Or what if you're afraid of interest? So we started to say, well, what we should actually do is create a Sharia compliant credit card. And this is where I was introduced to Dr. Farouk and Mufti Bilal. And the importance of this is twofold. Not only can we help people who are in trouble with their credit or need help with their credit, but also we can help newcomers to the country or those that have traditionally been excluded because they refuse for their own faith background to use interest. So the Score credit card is a credit card that has zero interest. Now, in the United Kingdom, you have to include all your fees when providing it, what they call an annualized percentage rate, an APR. And so we do have an APR, and that's fine. However, we charge no interest, no purchase interest, no interest when you remove money off the credit card, no interest if you're late in paying. We do charge some fees, but that's to be expected because we have to make some money on it, and we have to ensure that we're compensated for the work that we do. So we are the first now card that is in the marketplace in the United Kingdom that is Sharia compliant. Now, as you can see here, the slide talks a little bit about financial inclusion and what I already mentioned to you, that if you have limited or no financial access, you're going to pay more for money. And often you can either be socially excluded or you can end up in poverty. Where if you are included financially, you'll find that your access to products are lower, and that allows you to get home ownership, access socially, and you can become wealthy eventually. Here's the crazy statistic. The net worth of Muslims, though, especially in the West, is 5 times lower than the worldwide benchmark of almost $80,000. And that was a study done by Credit Suisse back in 2022. So it's very, very recent. It's crazy. And the main reason is that many Muslims in the West are either newcomers, and so they have not created a credit profile, or because of their faith, they don't want to use interest. And so this card then allows people to bridge that gap, so to speak. Now, specifically for the United Kingdom, it's never too soon to start establishing your credit. And now you can read this here, but let me explain something to you. I've dealt with many people that say, well, Dr. Dost, can you help me? You talk about the needs for interest, not wanting to pay interest and the needs for credit, but I pay for everything in cash. Why would I need a good credit rating? And I would refer you back to the reality that if you want to get a mortgage, if you want to live in the right neighborhood, you have to have a credit footprint. And without a footprint, major lenders and landlords will not allow you to come into their buildings. So if you're a corporate person and you don't use loans and leases because you refuse to pay interest, you may not find yourself in a good neighborhood for your corporate business because the landlord won't be trusting you to pay them. If you're an individual wanting to move into a home, it's the same thing because they all run your credits. Now, it's quite easy to start building your credit. Open a bank account, don't miss any of your payments, get on the electoral roll, monitor your credit by going to the credit bureau once a quarter and seeing what it looks like. And then get a secured credit card, because a secured credit card allows you to use your own money and the credit system to become successful. So let me explain that now. What I mean by that is that a secured credit card allows you to put your own money onto your credit card like a prepaid card, except you're going to be able to use the credit card network. And because it's a credit card, your credit will be informed to the credit bureaus. And as that's done every month, your credit will increase as long as you're responsible in paying it off. So for Muslims that want to be Sharia compliant, this is a very good way of doing this because you can build credit without spending any money on interest. And it's not just the D&D card. You can use any secured card. However, the D&D card is the only one that is Sharia compliant because we charge no interest. Many of our competitors that help people in the same circumstances will charge upwards of 40% interest, up to 60% interest per annum on purchases to be able to allow you to build your credit history. So this is a pretty unique product in that respect, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it. What we offer on our credit card is we offer 1% cash back. We report to all the credit agencies. We allow you to pick your repayment date, and ultimately we allow you to attain your financial goals. So to give you some of the hard and fast costs, it is a 29.99% APR, and that's made up from a monthly subscription of £20 per month and a one-time credit access fee of 10% of the credit that you want. This is all based on £1,200 because that's what the government says we have to base it against, so we're comparing against all other credit cards. But again, like I said, there is no interest. We have a high approval rate. There's no interest charge. We have a flexible limits anywhere from 250 pounds and up, and it is a MasterCard. So because it's a MasterCard, it's accepted in the MasterCard network. Obviously, Visa will, anywhere they take Visa or MasterCard, you'll be able to use your card. The business card is a little bit different. We have a 17% credit access fee and a higher monthly subscription fee because we give you a few other perks with it, such as to 9 supplementary cards. The first 2 are included. It allows you to manage your cash back and whatnot. And again, this is based on 1,200 pounds. And so that's why that APR ends up at 67%. However, again, there is no interest on a credit card. This is just based on what the fees look like. In the second year, you actually, those rates would go down because you're not paying the credit access fee again. And then you can apply at our website, which is scorebydnd.com. And so with that, I want to open it back up yourselves and we can get into questions. I just have to figure out how to exit my slide here. There we go. That, and then open up the Zoom. Okay. Stop sharing. So with that, Dr. Farouk, I would hand it back to you and then let you take it from there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dost. I think that this was a very good presentation, and then I think that our participants will have more question about it because you have given us a very good teaser about how the credit card, Score D&D cards work, and also how it is actually solving the problem of Muslim community in the West and particularly in the UK. But before going to our Q&A presentation, Q&A session, I would like to basically now invite Dr. Mufti Bilal. Before that, I just have an announcement that if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand to directly ask the question through the voice chat. You can do that in our Q&A session. And another thing is, like, please do not write your questions or comments in the chat box, because from the chat box, it will be very difficult to pick up your questions. So now I will focus, I will invite Mufti Bilal. He has completed his Islamic theology studies at Darul Uloom Bury and trained as a Mufti in Darul Uloom Blackburn, UK. He also holds bachelor's in banking and law from London Metropolitan University and postgraduate diploma in Islamic finance from IIBI London. He is also a certified Sukuk professional from Al Huda CIBE and a certified Waqf professional from IIBFT. Previously, he has served as a research assistant for the chair of Al Qalam Sharia panel as Imam of Chingford Masjid and led the Zakat advisory services at the National Zakat Foundation. Currently, he is a consultant for Islamic Finance Guru and co-founder of Sharia Experts. And he is also the Sharia advisor to Marhaba DeFi in the crypto space. And he has been working as a Sharia advisor for many other blockchain-based businesses, cryptos, and in the DeFi space. I think that although he also has a lot in his profile, mashallah, but I think that you have already got the idea. So with that, I will basically invite Mufti Bilal to take the floor and share your ideas, views, etc. on this topic, please. To you, Mufti Bilal.
Thank you, Dr. Farouk, and thank you, Dr. Bill, for your presentation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. Yes, this is a very interesting presentation, especially when it comes to credit card. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that will be having a lot of questions on how can a credit card be Sharia compliant when we know that usually credit card is associated with interest, and interest payment is haram, prohibited, of course, in Islam. The first point that I would like to make, which Dr. Bill has touched upon, is in regards to, of course, the financial inclusion, the importance of financial inclusion, and especially when it comes to the Muslim community in the West. There are two aspects to how Muslim can be easily excluded. One is basically on the lack of Islamic financial product available in some of the Western countries, like for example in France, for example, or even in the UK as well. Although in the UK we are lucky to have so many, Islamic financial product, but yet it is not enough. So easily, because of this barrier that there is between a practicing Muslim and the financial world in general, many Muslims can be easily excluded, from taking part in, financial affairs. And this can easily, have a negative consequences of that many people are not able, to take part in many of their financial activities, such as, as Dr. Bir has mentioned, when it comes to, for example, purchasing a house on a mortgage, even though it might be an Islamic mortgage, but if you don't have a solid, credit profile, then you're not going to get the Islamic mortgage or any mortgage for that matter. There is a book that I came across not long ago. I forgot the title. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's called Cloud Money. And it's a book that has been released. I was very recently, I was looking at the review in the Financial Times, and in it talks about, although the author is against the use of or the overuse of credit card or debit card in general, and he is advocating for the use of cash, but the highlighting point in that book is that we live in a world where cash is becoming less and less in use now. Even over the weekend, I went in few shops where, they were saying no cash, accepted here. You need a card, you need a debit card, you need a credit card. Now, if, for example, you do not have, even in the UK, there are many, for example, refugees and, people who do not have access to the banking system in general, forget about credit card, but they cannot even have a bank account from where, they can have access to a debit card. So how are these people going to do? You go into a shop and they're telling you no cash allowed. So how are you going to pay for basic stuff like a coffee or food or something like that? So we live in a world where, digital money is widely used, and we are in need of that. Now, when it comes to, as I said, financial inclusion, very easily, there are many Muslims that do not have access to a basic bank account. So if they do not have access to a basic bank account, they're not going to have access to a debit card. So what are they going to do? So DND here, alhamdulillah, has provided a form of alternative, a form of solution where Muslims who may feel excluded because of their faith, that they cannot have access to a credit card, which is interest-free, or Muslims who do not have access to a bank account in general because of their credit profile, etc. But now they can have access to a card which is Sharia compliant, and they can have that card to make the purchase of basic stuff. When it comes to the second point I wanted to talk about is the credit card in general from an Islamic perspective. So as I mentioned earlier, is that the general rule when it comes to credit cards is that anything that is that has got an interest element to it, it is not Sharia compliant, which is the case with the credit card, because you have to pay the interest. So how do we get around it? In general, there are two schools of thought when it comes to the use of credit cards, especially in the West, among the Muslim scholars. One thought is that it is permissible to have a credit card based on necessity, because obviously we do not have any alternative, and because there is a need to use credit cards, like to make payment, etc. But also to protect yourself, because as we all know, when you have a credit card and you make a purchase with it, like for example, you buy a plane ticket, and not long ago there was an airline company that went bust, and they were selling the tickets up to the last day until they went bust. So now all the tickets that they have sold, it's lost. So if you don't use a credit card, that can provide you with a refund, that can provide you with a form of protection, then you'll be losing money out there. So because of this necessity, so the scholars, they have allowed Muslims to use or to apply for a credit card, but to use the credit card without having to pay the interest. So to always, make sure, that once you have taken the credit facility, to repay the loan before the interest becomes due. And they have allowed that based on necessity. They're not saying that paying interest is halal or it has become halal, or they're not saying that this agreement has become halal. What they're saying is that it is tolerated based on necessity. While other scholars are saying that no matter whether you are repaying the loan before the interest becomes due or not, the credit card itself is haram, because you are entering into an agreement that where if you are late in your repayment of the loan, you will be paying the interest. And because you're signing up to that contract and you're agreeing to this clause, to this condition, the credit card will always remain as impermissible. So these are the two main difference of opinion, the two main opinion that we are having in the Muslim community at the moment when it comes to credit card. With DND, so obviously now the fact that we have scholars that are actually allowing Muslims to use a credit card, and to not pay their interest, does not make it okay. It does not make it all right. This has been allowed because out of necessity, but Muslims must strive to find a solution, to create another solution where we do not have to apply for the credit card anymore, the credit card that actually has got the interest bearing with it. We need to find another alternative. And here, this is where DND comes into play, because this is the alternative. The credit card of DND, although it is called a credit card, does not really function as a credit card. It is more of an e-money solution, where the person will be depositing money in an account with DND, and the credit that is available to that person is the amount of money which he would have deposited with DND, and DND is keeping that money on their behalf. So, for example, if a person deposits £1,000, as an example, if they deposit £1,000, so this is the amount that is going to be available to that person. So there is no a real loan taking place in here. Nobody is lending money where you have to repay with the interest. Yes, there are going to be certain fees. There are going to be fees that the customer will have to pay, but these fees, they're not a structure to hide the interest payment. We're not talking about that. The fees that the customer will be paying is in relation to the service that is being provided to them, right? So the services that is being provided to them, the fact that this person, by holding the card, the credit rating, again, this is the main selling point of DND, that, by having this card, your credit profile is going to be built, is going to be stronger. So you are going to be paying for these things. And then you have the typical service charges that Muslim scholars, even the IOFI has considered as permissible, for example, when it comes to cash withdrawal at the ATM, etc. These are basic service fees which is permissible for customers to pay, and which in this case DND has been allowed to charge the customers as well. So there is no real loan taking place here where a person is lending you, where DND is lending you money and then you have to repay with a form of interest. No, you will be paying, you will be using the card, the credit facility, up to the limit which you have actually deposited the amount in your account. This is, like I said, it's considered e-money. Okay, it's e-money agreement, and this is what we're talking about here. So for that reason, Sharia experts has certified the DND card as a Sharia compliant, and the other benefit of having this card is that when it came to Islamic credit card alternative, which there is, for example, in countries like Malaysia, there has been critics of these cards. Many Muslims do criticize this card because the Islamic credit card that you may find in certain Muslim countries is usually structured around contracts such as tawarruk, for example. And many Muslim economists are against this. And in fact, recently I was talking to a very well-known Muslim financial professional who was telling me that, even if you create a credit card around tawarruk, and even if you create it and you make it Sharia compliant, it is not okay, because you are just pushing people to borrow more money all the time. And you shouldn't make borrowing in itself is not right, in an economy. And here again, the benefit of the DND card is that there is no such a thing really taking place. We're not pushing people to borrow money, right? So this is a point that you must remember. You are always going to be using the card within your limits. This is a very important point that we must all remember. So DND card has been, alhamdulillah, certified as a Sharia compliant by our company Sharia experts, and it was also a very interesting experience that by not only certifying this card, we have also certified, we have also issued the certification in the form of an NFT. So we have ensured that this certification cannot be manipulated or anything like that. We are showing to people that there is a possibility to use modern technology, and the use of NFT when it comes to Sharia compliance is actually the way forward. So alhamdulillah, we're very pleased with what we have achieved, and inshallah we hope that the DND card, it will be very helpful. Will come, obviously at the moment it's going to be offered in the UK, but hopefully inshallah it'll be offered in many other countries as well, so that many more Muslims will have access to a Sharia compliant card, and that they will be able to help them to be more included in the financial system, inshallah. So all I can say is thank you very much to Dr. Beer, and congratulations for his product.
Jazakallah khaira, and thank you so much to both the speakers. And I think that we have already got some questions lined up for you. So with that, I think that we can start our Q&A session. But before that, let me just say something about it, that it's a very good alternative, and I think that we should come up with more solutions regarding financial products. Like I said before, right now there are other issues which are pending, for example, like house financing, student loans, etc. So I think we also need to also consider those, and hopefully we will also we would like to have something there as well. Second point is Mufti Sahab has mentioned also about NFTs in the form certification in the form of NFTs. So let me just say two sentences about it. That okay, NFT is a non-fungible token, and certificates are being issued in the form of non-fungible tokens, which means that they cannot be manipulated, completely transparent, and they are issued on the blockchain technology itself. So it's a token on the blockchain itself, and then it has the metadata with it. So with that, I mean, we can be assured that okay, it has been issued from an authentically from a recognized organization, and it is not manipulated. It cannot be copied as well, and this is something which and easily verifiable as well. So this is something which I think gives more trust and confidence to the users. I have few questions lined up, so I think that we should move on to our Q&A session. So our first question is from Arsalan. He's asking to Dr. Bill that what will be charged if amount not repaid before due date? So it's a specific question to the card, that if a user does not pay the due amount before the due date, So is there anything which we are charging?
So thank you for that. So I'll actually answer both of his questions together. First one
Okay.
is that no, there is no fee charged if you are late in repayment. Now, there can be consequences. So let me explain this. The way the D&D card is set up is if you put £1,000 on the card and you spend £1,000 over the course of the month, you will receive a statement online that says, hey, you're to have access to all of the credit, you need to repay the 1,000. However, we allow customers to go up to 6 months without making the full repayment back. There is no fee charged at all, no interest charged at all. However, there is one consequence. You have to make a minimum monthly payment of your choosing, because typically monthly payments are set up by credit cards so that you never pay off the credit card. In our case, we require a monthly payment so that we can report to the credit bureau that you have kept within the obligations of the credit card, so we can improve your credit rating. So there must be a monthly payment. But if circumstances do not allow you to remake the entire payment that you've used, you simply will not have access to that limit. So in a real life example, if you have £1,000 credit card, you use £1,000 in that first month and you pay off £500, then you will only have access to £500 of spending left, number one. And number two, because you've made a repayment, you have now allowed yourself to have your credit improved. And then you've got 6 months to pay off that other 500, because you must go to zero within every 6 months. And that's more of a regulatory side of things. You have to be able to show that you can afford the card, that you're not in financial hardship. So that was the first question. The second one was will the fee be charged either credit limit used or not, or only when it will be used in that month only? So I think there's two fees that we have. The first fee is a one-time credit access fee. You pay this when the credit card is started. It's to compensate us for the work and the service involved in setting the program up for you. In that case, you pay for a consumer or a personal card, which is this card here, the black one, 10%. So on £1,000 again, you would pay £100. On a corporate card, just to be clear, which is this one, because corporate entities have access to more funds, it's a lot more work to set up the corporate program, and we have to offer things like supplementary cards and whatnot. That fee is 17%. That's charged in the beginning based on the credit limit you want. If you choose to increase your credit limit at any time, we must do the work again. We must check the credit, run the algorithms. In that case, on the change in credit, you would then be paying that percentage fee as well, but not on the entire amount. So if you went and doubled your credit card to £2,000, you would pay that fee on only the additional 1,000. Now, the second part to this is that we do charge a monthly fee to keep the credit card active. The first 3 months are included in your your 10% package. So we give you the first 3 months for free, and thereafter, by the virtue of having the credit card, you will be charged $19.99 for a consumer and £50 for a corporate user. That fee is charged no matter what. However, what we do offer is that if you refer another cardholder to us and they become a cardholder, we will give you a free month. So you can, in essence, earn a few free months here and there by simply saying, this card has worked for me. It's helped me stay within my faith, and I'd like to share it with somebody else. So, but however, to answer your question clearly, yes, the monthly payment will be charged no matter what after the 90th day.
So I think that with that, we can see the difference that, okay, the fee which is charged is not directly connected with the credit itself. Rather, these fees are connected to the services which D&D scorecard is providing, I think. So
Yeah, that's correct.
So in that sense, like that's why Mufti Bilal has said that, okay, there is no interest there because the fee is not connected or dependent on the credit limit or the credit itself, but it is rather on the service side. So I have another question. It's firstly, thanks to give us the opportunity for participating in this event. My question is, what is a basic tool or way for marketing of any Islamic loan product? I mean, what easy method? So I think that it is again, Dr. Bill, that I think that you might have faced some problem when you are marketing the it's interest-free or Islamic loan product. So I think that you can share your experience with us.
Yeah, certainly. So what we're finding right now is we're using three different, what I would call channels to market our product. The first one is obviously Google AdWords and whatnot. And so if you go and search for interest-free or Sharia compliant credit cards, we should pop up as an ad. And there'll be Google ads that allow for that. Now, Google in the last year and Facebook shortly have implemented highly regulated allowances for ads. All that means is that for bad players or people that are not regulated, they cannot put those ads up and they'll shut them down. So Google only does this with, at-risk categories. Because our category is repair your credit, we are highly regulated on what can and can't be put on. But because we are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in the United Kingdom, we pass Google's regime, so to speak, and their requirements. So we are allowed to advertise. And so we firstly advertise through Google AdWords. Secondly, we advertise on social media, on our Instagram, for example, and different social medias. And then thirdly, we have a broker network, both digital and physical. The digital broker network we're using is advertising to people that have the ability to bring large scale numbers to us. So for example, we go to a brokerage, they have different brokers that operate under them, and those people are influencers, for example, and they will say, hey, we have this product that fits this. Do you have anybody that needs it? And so there's just different ways that you can do it. We also have sales staff that are out there and meeting people and that are speaking about it and talking to our own physical broker network. So a bit of a harder question to answer, but I hope I've answered that for you. In essence, there's a lot of digital ways, but we always use more help because I kind of feel that we are the best kept secret in the United Kingdom for those that really are relying on repairing their credit. If you look at it, our competitors who do not offer a Sharia compliant solution, they were only offering the ability to rebuild your credit and thus have access to those things that we spoke about earlier. As I mentioned, they charge anywhere from 40% to 60% interest. That's hard for anybody. It's going to definitely exclude you. So if we can just change the conversation on this and have people using an interest-free credit card or a non-interest credit card is probably a better way to put it. That makes me really happy because people are having full use of their money.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bell. I have our next question is for Mufti Bilal. Fahad has asked that how financial inclusion can be achieved through Islamic finance in Muslim majority countries like Pakistan, considering huge market and potential, especially for conventional microfinancial products. So what do you think that what is the scope of Islamic microfinance in Muslim majority countries, and how can we achieve financial inclusion through those services?
What I would say is that even in Muslim majority countries, 13% of the Muslims are basically excluded from the financial system because of religious reason. Now there are still a lot of work to get done, and I think obviously as an advisor in the Islamic crypto space, I think crypto can be the way forward and can help Muslim to be more included, and especially when it comes to microfinance, because through crypto there can be a lot of opportunity to I mean not just crypto, but even through the blockchain technology to actually create microfinancing project, and also which is obviously going to get money more accessible to people who are in need, but also it will be a mean to have more people to invest the money through the blockchain technology, because you could easily link people from different corners of the world. So this is why I think the way forward would be to obviously to look at fintech in more general to have more Muslims included in the financial system.
Okay, perfect. We have our last question, and if there is any other question, please write now. Or you can raise your hand and we will allow you to ask the question through the audio. I think that this question, Mufti Bilal can also chip in, or Mr. Asif also can chip in. And after this question, I think that I will have 1 minute for each speaker, and also for Mr. Asif to give a concluding remark or their final thought. So the question is this a worldwide phenomena to have credit card to demonstrate credit worthiness? Is there any other measure or no measure for credit worthiness? A person having no default in 50, 60 years of life will have no credit standing. So I think that it's more about like understanding that how credit history or credit worthiness work in the Western world or globally. So Dr. Bill, I think that you can initiate, if you have any initial thoughts on it, please
Yeah,
do share.
100%. So now you have to understand that credit worthiness is determined by your credit score. So keep it separate from the credit card for a moment. So your credit worthiness, companies like TransUnion, Equifax, Credit Safe, they monitor your credit because institutions provide them with this information. All the banks, especially in the United Kingdom, all the banks, financial institutions like us, if we wish to look at somebody's credit history, we have to provide how they spend and how they pay on that credit history. It's a hand-in-hand lock. And this is happening in other Western countries like Canada, the United States, and Australia as well. Now, if you are 50, 60 years and you've never used credit, you're not going to have any standing, or you're going to have a very limited standing. Understand that if you have a mobile phone, they do report. Your bank will have some reporting on there as well, but really it's your credit and how you use it, bad or good. So it's not just your credit card. There's loans out there. There's leases. Anytime you borrow a vehicle, for example, and you borrow for that vehicle, these will all be reported to the credit bureau. Very few of them, however, are Islamic Sharia compliant, right? So there is many methods to increase your credit limit. But if you only operate in cash, you will have no or very little standing, and this will prevent you from being able to access and be financially included, because you won't have access to money. You won't have access to being able to purchase a house. Today, very few people can afford to purchase a house, especially in the United Kingdom, in cash. And so you need to be included is what it comes down to. And this is one way to do it. So to answer your question, even if you've had no default in 50 or 60 years, you just won't have that's true. You won't have a credit standing unless you actually borrow. And this way, the score credit card prevents you from having to physically borrow, as Mufti Bilal has explained. It operates very much like a prepaid card. However, it is a credit card because of how we've structured it. And that's what allows us to report you. Good and bad, unfortunately, if you act poorly with it. I hope that answered.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it was very, very clear. So I think Dr. Bill, again, if you have any final thoughts, I will just go around with every
I have one
speaker.
question. Yeah,
Oh,
can I
okay.
have a
You have, yes. Please
yes,
go ahead.
for the Dr. Bill, this question is that when we're talking about the Islamic credit card, it's a different approach in which there is no late fees or charges are there. So how you are covering the cost of the fund? You know,
Yeah.
like I have taken a loan on a credit card like 10,000. I have a limit of 10,000, and so for some reason I'm unable to pay that one, and I paid 1,000. Out of that 10,000, 9,000 is outstanding. So if a larger, because the people sometimes are habitual, that they know that there is no penalties on that, there is no default on that one, they delay it. So it becomes very difficult to have a huge fund outstanding on a card, and how you cope up with this problem, because there is a cost of capital. We are living in a society, in everything has some cost for that.
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. It's very important to understand that with the scorecard, you are placing on deposit with us, with the Bank of England, actually, the amount of the credit limit you wish, plus our fee we receive. So if you wanted a 10,000 or even a 20,000 pound card, because you have these kinds of expenses, and then you decide to only pay back 2,000 pounds, well, one way of looking at it is that you actually just spent your own money, but you don't have access to any more availability on the card. So if you choose to go 6 months and not pay the card balance down, you just make a minimum payment of, let's say, £100 a month. That, it's only hurting yourself. It's not hurting us, because we've received your funds, we've held them in trust, and we've allowed you to quote unquote borrow, but you're not really borrowing, you're using your own funds, right? As one way to look at it. So in that case, we're not worried about the cost of capital. Now, in the truest sense of the word, what happens is that, there's a structure behind this where your money sits here safely and we lend you here as an e-money solution. But this money here, if you choose to never pay your credit card, we just pay off your card. And then at 6 months, and there's no fee, there's no penalty. The only thing you've done is you've hurt yourself, because perhaps your credit bureau has been injured because you decided not to pay. And that's making a minimum payment. You don't have to pay the full thing off. You do have 6 months. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, I think, and another
Yeah,
on a general
sorry,
note.
so Farooq, one
Okay.
thing just
Sure.
again, that you said that there is a $50 dollar whatever is the charge which is for the card every month. So does this $50 covers that one? Again, that it means the card holder, the company will be making a loss, whether they will making a loss on this transaction or they are secured, how they are secured.
Okay, so it's
Because
20.
say that if you have a simple calculation, like $50 is the charge for the credit card, I am delaying every month. Okay, maybe you cancel my card after 6 months, but what about like there are 3, 4, 5 cases, 7 cases? So it means there's a difference between you have given the money and you receive the money not on time. So what about that one? How you are coping up for this losses?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So to be clear, on the consumer card, it's $19.99 a month. And on the corporate card, it's £50 a month. Now, it's important to understand that there will never be a loss on this card. So because we hold the security deposit from every single individual, we're protected against the potential loss of somebody saying, I'm never going to pay it back. So again, if you take a £10,000 credit card out, you only pay £1,000. I still have your money here in a separate container, so to speak. So if you choose to run away and never pay me, I have your money to pay your debt off. So now, as you're saying, there's a cost of capital monthly. That's covered in our fee. And honestly, if you're not using the card, my costs against you are low. If you are using the card, my costs against you increase. And so that's built into that dynamic model. And anything that we have to recoup, if somebody doesn't pay me for 6 months, that's built into that monthly fee. If you don't pay me, I have your money anyways. So I pay off the credit card in full. So nobody can ever end up in a situation where they owe the credit card company money. In our case. So unlike Visa, like if you go to your bank and you get a Royal Bank of Scotland Visa card and you borrow £10,000, you're actually physically borrowing that money. You're not giving them a security deposit. So you could end up owing them money after, and that will increase until you pay it off, right? Because of the interest. Because we have your deposit on hand, I'm assured that you can never, run away and disappear with my money. In fact, it's the opposite. In theory, I owe you money until you spent it. So we're always protected. We're simply providing you a vehicle to improve your credit, interact and transact with merchants, and create a profile for yourself. And that's what our fee is charging.
Okay, yeah, perfect. In a nutshell, I can say that although it is called a credit card because it gives you benefits and features of a credit card, but it doesn't mean that underlying structure is also based on credit. It's more of a charge card or a prepaid card. So whatever you are using only your deposit, and but still you are enjoying the benefits of a credit card. So
yeah,
I think that is basically the gist of it. So I think that with that, I will basically now invite Dr. Bill again to give his final thought, 1 minute, and then I will come to Mufti Bilal and Mr. Asif as well.
So first of all, thank you for having me. I hope this has been informative for people. You can reach us at score, SCORE, by dnd.com. So World Wide Web score by dnd.com. And you can hit the contact button and you can reach me, and myself or one of my team will respond. So if you have any other questions, we are available that way, firstly, and you can check out the card product. The other thing I would say is that it's very easy to fall into the trap of feeling I'm excluded, I'll never get better. And we really want to encourage people to say, the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first step. And this is one of those first steps. Certainly you should have a budget and many other things, but this step will allow you to sit within your Muslim faith, transact with merchants, and know that you're using the value of being able to improve your credit. So it's 3 in 1. So I just encourage people to come take a look at it, ask questions. I have a book called Raise Yourself from Debt to Wealth. And for anybody that becomes a card member off of the back of this, we'll happily send you a free copy of it as well. So.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that the book is also, I have read some part of it. It's an amazing book, by the way. Like it gets you motivated about your own financial planning and do some careful spending as well. So I think this is good. And Mufti Bilal, I think that your final thoughts also, please, would be very, very much welcome.
Yes, thank you. So as Dr. Bill said, that very easily, you can feel that somebody can feel excluded because they cannot have access to this or they cannot have access to that. And especially when it comes to the Muslim community, we shouldn't feel that way. I think there are a lot of people that are working in the background, to create these solutions, and finance is an industry that keeps on evolving all the time. I mean, conventional finance is like that. So it's similarly with Islamic finance as well. It might take time, but there are always going to be, innovation, etc. And this is why we shouldn't feel, because sometimes Muslims, they feel like, we have to adopt, all these haram solutions because there's no any other way around. No, it's not like that. Yes, sometimes we have to because there's no any other solution, but at the same time, there are people that are working hard, to bring these halal solutions available to the Muslim community. And this is what we have to keep on working for, in the future. So yeah, inshallah, I hope this card will be very, very beneficial to the Muslim community. And Sharia experts, our company is also, ready to work with the entrepreneurs and financial professionals to create and bring more halal solutions to the Muslim community in the future, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Mufti Bilal. And now, Mr. Asif, your concluding remarks as well, which
I
will be like
will.
a khitamuhu misk.
Thanks a lot for giving it's wonderful to have such a people over here in the webinar, especially this hot topic about the financial inclusion and Islamic, finance. And I will second what Dr. Mufti Bilal has told, that now after the COVID, the things have become like more on the digital, platforms, and people, they require, it's a necessity, it's not a luxury to have a credit card and other things like that. Sometimes it's become very difficult to cope up, end up the needs, and whom you go for the loan. The banks and other people, they are giving loan to the people who already have money. It's very, common. People knows that one. And then you end up in situation and begging and asking money to, for your necessities. So this is a good thing, that something which is Sharia compliant. And it's a big debate on the credit cards and other things like that, that whether they are halal or haram. And such products which Dr. Dost have launched, and these products are very much useful for the Islamic communities. And I hopeful other also products, financial products, will be available in the market to cope up and make life easier, especially for the Muslims in the world.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asif. I think that this was a wonderful conclusion for our whole webinar and session. And I hope that our participants have got some insights. The main point was for this webinar, generally, was that Alif Technologies actually is trying to bring in experts and people who have actual experience, hands-on experience about Islamic financial products, and then that those are which are also based on technology. So this is something we are sharing this knowledge with our participants through these webinars. And also this time, Sharia experts and DND score, DND Finance also came with us in this webinar, which was very wonderful. And Alif Technologies is also thriving and into the technology space where we are providing advanced technology and cutting edge technology solution for financial and non-financial services, for example, artificial intelligence, blockchain for not only financial services, but also for non-financial things. We are quite excited, and inshallah, we will be also hosting more webinars for you guys. So stay tuned with us, and thank you so much for your support. Jazakallah khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and